Hey everybody. Yesterday afternoon I started tinkering around with my garden tank area down here, and I've made a little bit of progress. I've got a few ideas. It's starting to come together for me, so I want to just sort of document this step by step. Each time I make a little bit of progress on the creative front, I want to get that on video, and then we can see it sort of develop from there. Got Princess Sassafras and Squeaker down here keeping me company this morning. So the first thing you'll notice is all the sprawling plant right there in front of you. That is the dead nettle that used to be back behind the, we'll call it the native tank part of the sort of garden tank area. And that's this tank back here. So back in that far right corner, behind all that creeping Jenny, is where this potted dead nettle was. So I just pulled that out and kind of sprawled it across the table there, just to sort of give me some visual distraction from a big old, block of empty table. So the idea is going to be, eventually I think I want to get my tank back here elevated a little bit, maybe half the height of this tank, maybe where the water line is would be the bottom of the tank. Waiting to see if she's gonna pounce on Squeaker. She's been in an ornery mood. It's been raining for the last 2 days, and the cats have been cooped up in the house, and they're driving me crazy. Can't imagine what having kids on a rainy day would be like. Anyway, the idea is I want this tank slightly elevated, and then this tank is going to be down a little bit lower, at table height, and then of course we're going to finish up down here with my little tank on the bottom. So I don't know what the tank on the bottom is going to be, but this tank is definitely going to be a red-clawed crab tank once I get it put together. Again, this little thing in here is just something sitting there for a little bit of visual appeal. It doesn't serve any actual purpose. So here's what I've come up with so far. I know it's kind of hard to tell what we're looking at here, but this is my little water pump. We're going to have that pumping up and into some sort of pond at this end of the tank, and then from the pond we're going to have either a little bit of a waterfall, and again I just put this stick in there to break it up visually and give it a little bit of a different. So from the pond we're going to have a little bit of a waterfall or something, and then all this area that I have filled with rocks now is actually going to be sand or mud or something, and the idea is going to be is that the water is going to flow into a little stream, is going to make its way down this way, and then we're going to have a line about where the table is, and that's where it's going to be sort of a drop off, and the little stream that's flowing across here is going to flow down. We'll have another little waterfall, and then this end of the tank will have a little bit of shallow water in it, and we'll be able to look straight down and straight through to the tank below it. And it hadn't occurred to me until just a few minutes ago when I actually started shooting this videos of how reminiscent this is of Falling Waters. If you're not familiar with Falling Waters, it is a very famous home that's actually not far from here, and it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and it's one of his more famous designs. And I've actually never been to see it. I've never actually been to Falling Waters to see it, but I have seen enough video and pictures of it and everything that the more I look at this, the more I can't believe that must have just been in the back of my head, not even thinking about it while I was setting it up this way and designing it that way. Because as soon as I realized, it wasn't deliberate. Originally, I was really hoping that I was going to be able to fit two 20 longs on the table, and as soon as I got this one across the back, I realized that that's not going to work. This one's going to overhang somewhat. And then I thought, well, that won't look too bad, provided all the weight stays at this end of the tank, there's very little water in this end of the tank, I shouldn't have any issues. And then again, like I said, that just this morning suddenly immediately reminded me of Falling Water. I also put an additional prop. There's a piece of plywood on the table to sort of increase the surface area of the table so I could fit some more plants and everything. So this I don't know how well you can see it or not. Okay, there, now you can see it. That's the actual table leg back here. So the table leg is quite a bit back. It's about halfway up the tank. And so I put an additional leg on the very far corner of the plywood. So we've got extra support there. And it's actually quite sturdy. I'm not worried about that moving at all. And again, we're not going to have a lot of water in this tank. It's going to have some sand and stuff back at this end. And then we're going to have maybe 2 or 3 inches of water down at this end with a little pond at the other end. So we're probably going to have about a total of 5 gallons of water in that 20-gallon long altogether. And then the other aspect of what's going to happen here is, because we're going to have this sort of wraparound effect, it's going to give me this open area, and this is where we're going to start focusing on putting some plants. My little lemon tree there will go probably, you know, the center point, and then I can have some other stuff all around it. We can have stuff growing in or out of some of the tanks. This tank, we'll have to be careful with the red-clawed crabs. Of course, they can climb, so we don't want them climbing in and out of the tank. So, you know, again, we got plenty to work on. This is just sort of getting the creative juices flowing and getting some ideas working. The other thing I'm considering, I know for one, I'm definitely going to be taking this light, and instead of having it at an angle shining this way and lighting up everything over here, I'm going to have it more directly above, shining down, to just create a circle of light. Don't know how well that's going to work out for these taller plants like the iris. I was thinking maybe putting some grasses in this tank. I've got some zebra grass that would do nicely. I've even got zebra grass will do well in brackish water. So with an open top brackish tank like this one's going to be, I could even put some zebra grass in there, except of course that would give the crabs a way to climb out. At any rate, I don't know how well that's going to work out for these taller plants, but if I've got the light here and shining straight down, I can actually kind of focus the light in the middle where these plants are going to be, and have these tanks kind of on the periphery so they're not so heavily lit. I went in here last night when I did a big water change and everything, and I scraped handfuls of thick mats of that thick green stuff. I don't know if it's cyanobacteria, algae, a little combination of the both. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I got a lot of really thick, gross stuff out of it. So we'll be able to break this tank down completely. I just kind of thought about it last night. The only 2 fish that are left in here are the 2 sunfish, and they can't stay in this tank anyway. They're already rapidly getting too big for it. So there's nothing stopping me from just completely breaking this whole tank down, redesigning it totally, and setting it back up with some new fish in it. You know, I said when I set it up before that the whole thing was just kind of a fun project. I was in the mood to do something that afternoon, and so I sort of threw this garden tank area together, and now that it's here, it's kind of like something I have to maintain. So now that I'm in the creative mode again, I'm kind of, you know, just thinking about my options and what I can do, and that is certainly an option. I can completely revamp that tank. I can set it up differently. I can even just take those, you know, all those rocks and stuff out of there and just fill it with water and just have it as an open top tank with some, you know, little native minnows and stuff swimming around in it or something. I don't know. We've got options. That's the point. So just wanted to do this little update, show you what kind of progress I've made so far, throw some ideas out there. Again, this one's the tank I'm really sort of focusing on, but since I'm doing this tank, why not redo the whole area? And then this tank down here is going to be completely redone. This is the one that's currently my red-clawed crab tank, and currently has the red-clawed crab in it, and it's just not a suitable habitat, and that's why we're redoing it and making this tank up here is going to be for the crab, which means this tank will be for whatever I put in it. So I'm not sure what that tank will be. Maybe this will be another little native tank and I can have some different kind of native fish in there. Not really sure, but as I keep saying, we've got options, and that's kind of the whole point of this video, is my creative juices are flowing, and hopefully we'll come up with something really cool and fun. It's a rainy day today, so I doubt I'll be getting outside and doing anything. No more rock collecting, you know, no more specimen collecting or anything. Today is probably going to be a day of just kind of, you know, tinkering with stuff, moving stuff around, trying this, trying that. I don't want to open up my bag of sand and dump the sand in here until I know what I want to do and I know how it's going to work, because getting the sand back out once it's, you know, again, I don't want to start the sand until I say, okay, this is how we're going to do it, this is how it's going to work. And then of course I'm sure once I do it, it'll be wrong and I'll have to redo it anyway. That's how it always works, but whatever. Anyway, if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of that. You won't miss any little updates of Squeaker. Oh, and there's little Princess Sassafras, so she'll get one last little goodbye in the video too. Meow. Alright everybody, that was your little end of your video. Say goodbye, Squeaker. Meow. Meow. You gonna say goodbye? No? Alright, well, he's just gonna leave. Alright everybody, thanks again for watching. Don't forget, this one here is my garden tank area. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you on the next one.